thầy, quý sư cô, toàn thể quý bạn đồng tham.
Dear Dharma friends and all practitioners, today is a Sunday, the 13th of July 2025. We continue with the topic, the equality in Buddhism. When we're talking about the equality, the non-dualistic aspect of the mind, those are just the means, the explanations, the words. The Buddha said those are the words, the explanation, wisdom. Our practitioners must use the application practice, application wisdom in order to continue to practice. If we don't practice, we won't be able to enter the true phase of the wisdom of prajna. As a practitioner, we practice diligently, continuously, and deal with our practice to stay away from all attachments. It's not like we try to use force to take away all of those elusive thinking. However, we use wisdom and the practice to automatically sweep up all these thinkings. So we follow the Buddha words, the master explanations to do the practice. If we don't do the practice, we will always running after the explanations, the words, the understanding, and we consider what we learn as a philosophy that we need to understand. It's not the understanding that we're running after. We need to practice in order to overcome all of these challenges. Any thorn sticking out during the practice, we use our practice to put them aside. When we practicing, asking questions, raising doubt, we are walking on the way or the road of non-dualism. And that is the equality that we will reach. We might not understand anything at the beginning, but with the practice, we will be able to understand everything later on. No matter what type of person we are, young, old, or even a person who intelligent or stupid, we still can practice. We are based on the cause and effect and applied what we understand in the practice. Eventually, we'll be able to stay away from the ignorance, the habit, and back to our own Buddha nature. This is why we said that we need to go on the right path, the right directions, follow the Buddha and the patriarch words. To practice, we relied on the Buddha teachings, the Dharma friends, in order to practice on the right path. If we still have some attachment, we always practice based on the ignorance, the habit, and we will consolidate the ignorance or the habit instead of going back to our Buddha nature. So our practice, asking questions and raising doubt, the doubt will sweep up or the elusive thinking in the mind or the movements of the bodies and are the sleepiness that we had during the practice. The more we practice, the stronger the mindset, the more practice that will help us to go toward our goal. We don't pay attention to what we ask for, what we achieve, what we fear of when we walk toward our goal. If we still attach to what we ask for, what we achieve, or what we fear of, then we are still going on the wrong path. And that is the topic for this week. If you have any questions or want to share your own experience in practice, go ahead and speak up. Kim In, go ahead.
Dạ, Nam mô Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật. Con kính thưa quý thầy, quý sư cô, cùng tiền đường đại chúng. Thưa thầy là có một cái sự việc này con cũng xin thầy khai thị sách tánh cho bạn đồng tham.
There is one problem that my Dharma friends had. Could you give them some words of encouragement so they can continue to practice when my Dharma friend listened to the Dharma talk? My Dharma friends feel a little bit frustrations. They don't know if they are listening and having a right understanding of the right Dharma or not. So my Dharma friend said that the words from the Buddha and the patriarch is only to show us the path, the right path to practice on. And we just follow the Dharma, but not the person. So the four relying Dharma is only the means. Those are just the ways from the Buddha or the patriarch to help us to go back to the practice. We only follow the meanings and apply to our practice. We don't run after the words of explanations. When we practice, we need to have the applied applications wisdom in order to practice to reach toward the Buddha wisdom. Just because we attach ourselves to the words, the explanations, and we didn't realize that those are just a means, and when we attach ourselves to the words, explanation, the understanding, we walking on the wrong path. Most sentient beings, they're always running after the thinkings in their mind. They attach themselves to the what they hear, what they see. They attach themselves to the habits. And that's why they're running after the wrong path of practice. As the Duy Lực Zen Master said that it's just like a dog running after the bones thrown by the Buddha or the patriot. When you're running after the words or the explanations, you are the dog running after the bones. It's just like a story of the farmer and the king. When we know how to apply all those understanding in our practice, then we will be able to have experience, our own experience in these words of explanations. But if we're running after those and attach ourselves to those understanding, then we're going on a wrong path. It's just like the milk, when you dilute the milk with water, it's not pure milk anymore, because you listen from other person's words, just like you dilute the water already. So in the story of king and the worker, when the Hoàng Công king reading the books of words from the ancient, he attached himself only to the words. That's why he attaching himself only to the dead word without the true experience from those means. So the Hoàng Công king was reading the books of all the words, and he thought of those words, the story in that books, the truth, the absolute truth that he followed. So he
mà lỡ nói ra cái câu đó rồi đó, ông gặp mẹ ông sợ bị phạm cái lời nói, cho nên phải làm cái hoàn tiền giả đó, gặp cái địa phủ giả đó, để mà gặp xuống nó mới gặp cái sợ nói ở trên là thế nào gặp là mẹ cũng sẽ chết. Đến tin như vậy đó, mà không hiểu cái ý của thánh hiền á, thì ông làm y như là cái gì sách vở nói thôi. Nhưng mà nó cũng thực hiện như vậy.
So he's always follow the words from his ancients. That's when the worker in making up the will, knowing that the Tề Hoàng Công King's reading, he asking, what are you reading? And the king said that I'm reading the questions from, I'm reading the books from the ancients. And the worker asked him, where are these ancient people? The king said they all died. And the worker said that, so those words in the books are just a waste. So the king was angry, and he told the worker that you criticize my ancestor, you need to explain what you said, or you will be beheaded because of those words of criticism. So the worker said that, I am the worker making the will. My son is also follow my step of making the will. And when I'm making the will, I know how to make the will that perfectly fits in order to make the cart going smoothly. If it's too tight, the cart won't be able to move smoothly. And if it's too loose, then the cart will be loosened up and fall off. The wheel will be falling off the cart. So because of my experience in doing the wheel, I can do the wheel perfectly the way that I experience. My son, he is also a good wheel maker. However, I cannot teach him my own experience in making the wheel. He must develop that himself when doing the practice. So now I'm still alive. I have all these tools to make up the wheel, the perfect wheel, but I won't be able to teach him how to make a perfect wheel. Your ancestors already died, only leaving those words for you to read. How can you reach the ultimate meanings of those words? So the kings realized that the worker has a point, and he understand the points of having his own experience. It's not the words that he's running after. So when you do in the practice in the patriarch Zens, you do in the practice, you follow the words from the Buddha and the patriarchs to do the practice. Your practice will detach yourself from those understanding and words of explanations, and it will help you to gain your own experience in the real meanings of those words. So as a practitioner who practicing the Buddha's words, we need to keep on practice and need to follow the Buddha words and apply them in our practice. That is the way what we pay respect to the Buddha teaching, our patriarch or our master. We need to be very careful when we listen to the words of explanations. We don't attach ourselves to those words, but we use the words as a reminder to go back to our practice to gain our own experience. When we still attach ourselves to the understanding the words without practicing to gain our own experience, we are going on the wrong path. That is why a lot of people sometimes they just follow the words of explanation or understanding. They don't practice. Is that understandable? The practice is more important. Pháp tuệ. Go ahead.
Con kính bạch trên quý thầy, quý sư cô cùng toàn thể, quý bạn đồng tham. Rồi trưa hôm qua khi mà sư cô Tịnh Hải có chia sẻ về
Yesterday afternoon, when Tịnh Hải Nun talk about the disease, when we listen to the Dharma talk, we thought that the understanding is what we need, and when we don't practice, we attach only to words of explanations. When the nun Tịnh Hải share her own experience, I realized that I have all those diseases. And when I realized that when we doing the practice, we facing with all the challenges and listen to the Dharma talk, I really appreciate all the help from our Dharma talk, Dharma friends, and our Dharma friends has helped us a lot in our practice. When I'm practicing, I'm sharing my experience with Pháp Hỷ, and we listen to your Dharma talk, and we really appreciate your reminder to go back to the practice. And the more we practice, the more I realize my mind is not in a upper level, but we belong to the lower level of practitioners. That's why we need more practice and keep on practicing. And our practice make us realize that only the practice that we relied on and keep on practicing. Could you give us some more words of encouragement on this? So people from outside said that only a bird can not make up a spring. The whole herd of birds make up the spring. So when we are doing this practice, we need to put down our own habits, our own ignorance, to walk toward the Buddha nature. No matter if you are at the upper level a practitioner or a lower level of practitioner, we are doing the same Dharma. We are practicing the same methods. When we have these Dharma talks, it's only the explanations for us to understand the right practice. We need to go back to our own practice in order to experience those real meanings. So as a person, a Buddhist, in this house of Buddhism, we are all the contributors to the house of Buddhism. Everybody are just a brick to build up that wall of the house. Those people who go in ahead practicing, you don't consider yourself as the better person or the all experienced person, and you have the power of authority to teach others lower levels practitioners. We are sharing the experience so the follower can start believe in the old self, old Buddha nature, their own Buddha nature, and come back to the practice. When you already believe in the Dharma friend's words or the wise man's words and start the practice, eventually you will reach that level of practicing. So when we have the Dharma talk, we also always have a representative person who asking the questions, so the master can rely on that questions and give us the explanation of the practice using the wisdom, the prajna, to help us to go back to the practice. So when we asking questions in these sessions, that is the way to deal with our challenges and help us on the way of practice. When we practicing, we asking questions that will help us and also other peoples to realize their own mistake. Before practicing, we don't realize our mistake. We thought that we have no mistake at all in this life. However, when the ignorance was there, the habits was there, you couldn't realize your own mistake. But when we practicing, we relied on the monastery and our Dharma friends. We really facing with our challenges. However, with the help of our Dharma friends, with these Dharma talk, we realize our own mistake and we use our practice in order to erase the mistake and going toward our Buddha nature. At first, our wisdom of prajna is still not strong enough. We won't be able to see the truth. However, the more we practice, the more we realize the truth behind those words. Our mind will be opened and we be able to see our own Buddha nature. The more we practice, the more we practice diligently, continuously, and we will be able to taste our own practice. The progress in practicing encourage us to go back to practice more and believe in our own Buddha nature even more. We don't attach ourselves to those achievements or those progress, but just walk on the road of practice toward our Buddha nature. At first, when we cannot keep our practice going continuously, we're still having a lot of chellenges that hinder us from our Buddha nature. That's why we're asking these questions in order to help us and encourage us to go back to the practice. When we practice more, we gain our own experience. We're walking slowly toward our target until we liberate our own mind from liberate ourselves from all of these elusive thinking in the mind. No matter if you reach a pool, when you know the true Dharma, you always apply that in your practice. This is why the patriots, the wise men, always encourage practitioners to practice in the monastery, so we can rely on the monastery precepts, Dharma friends, master, to go on the right path. This is why the Buddha, the patriots, the wise men always encourage us to practice in order to see our own wisdom, in order to develop our own wisdom, so we can go back to our own wisdom of the Buddha nature. We're running out of time.